Good morning once again, and I think it's afternoon now. Good afternoon is in order. I welcome everybody to the 12th lecture in the Founder Series of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy. The Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy is part of the Eye Foundation Hospital Group that was set up to help to develop leaders at international best practice in eye care through training, research, and also making sure that we're able to promote and ensure build greater capacity in eye care and more generally healthcare in Nigeria and across the West Africa region. We started the Founders Series last year, and we've had very exciting and thoughtful sessions. The initial 10 sessions were held and were delivered by our founder, Dr. Kunle Hassan. And then in the 11th lecture was delivered by Professor Chris Obeche. And today we have another exciting speaker, Dr. Harriman, who will introduce shortly. So as part of the welcome speaker, try to give some of the house. I would really appreciate if participants can mute their microphone. If everybody can mute their microphone so we can actually give the floor to the speaker and we can all hear from him, that would be appreciated as much as possible as well. We would also like people to turn their videos off so that the attention can be on the speaker today. In terms of the program, I would call on the executive director of the Kunle Hassan Eye Foundation Academy, Dr. Ayodele Harriman, who will introduce the speaker shortly. Then after the introduction, we will hear from the speaker, and then we can have an interactive session following the delivery of their lecture. And questions will be welcome from participants, and this can be dropped on the chat in the chat box, and we'll pick all those questions up by a moderator. Will pick that up in the course of the interactive session. Once again, I welcome everybody, and we're looking forward to another exciting session. Dr. Harriman, over to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yemi. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining this afternoon. I'm going to introduce our speaker. Our speaker is Dr. Michael Koku. He's a physician by training, but he's also a Maxwell certified speaker, coach, and trainer. He's the Chief Visionary Officer of Esperanza Manifold Concepts, which is based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania in the USA. He's a successful leadership-minded person who is very enthusiastic about human development, leadership training for organization and personal growth. He relocated to the US 14 years ago, but before this, in recognition of his selflessness in pioneering the patient-friendly initiative at the UCH, that's University College Hospital Ibadan, here in Nigeria, whereby he was able to get other members of the medical and paramedical team to raise substantial amounts of funds. That was 400,000, 200,000 in 2008, which was a lot of money then. So he was able to get these people to raise these amounts of funds for items, to purchase items towards patient well-being and emergency care. And because of this, he was offered a job as a medical officer in the staff medical services of that institution. On his relocation in 2009, he joined the Salvation Army in West Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, USA, as a program administrator and put in 10 years of selfless service, which in 2018 led him to being awarded the prestigious Employee of the Year Award for the Salvation Army USA in the Greater Philadelphia area. In mid-2020, he left the Salvation Army and joined the John Maxwell team, also known as the Maxwell Leadership Team. Now, as we all know, Dr. John Maxwell is the #1 leader in business and the most influential leadership expert in the world. Dr. Michael Koku has his own leadership and human development company, Esperanza Manifold Concepts, which is registered in Philadelphia in the USA. As a Maxwell certified speaker, coach, and trainer, through his company, Esperanza Manifold Concepts, he has trained participants from all over the world, including physicians in all disciplines of medicine and non-medical participants in the fields of law, banking, education, human relations, administration, marketing, and the like. His topic today is leadership fundamentals and Leadershift. So thank you very much, Dr. Okoku, for accepting our invitation. We look forward with eager anticipation to hearing what this concept of leadership is. So over to you now, Dr. Okoku. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Harriman. I'm so honored to be here today, and I want to say thank you to the founder, Dr. Kunle Azan. Dr. Kunle Azan's testimony has been so inspiring. I read about him, and it really inspired me, you know, how he pioneered the high foundation of spirit. And I want to appreciate his lovely wife, and I want to appreciate everyone in the Kunle Azan High Foundation Academy. Kifa, you guys are doing a great work. And I listened to some of the founder series myself. It's been a real enlightening session. And I want to say it's an honor for me to be right here today. So, and I also want to appreciate Dr. Bumi Fatungase, the acting CMD of the Olabisi Onabanjo University Teaching Hospital, whose connection really brought me to this platform. God used to make that connection with Dr. Kunle Azan. So today, I believe we'll be learning a lot. And I also appreciate Dr. Harriman in the course of planning for this meeting. You know, she's been very supportive, and Francis also. And also, I want to appreciate my wife also, which is part of this platform, and every one of you, my very great friends connecting all around the world. So we like to go to the business of today. We'll be looking at leadership fundamentals, and also we'll be looking at leadership and in the time that we have. You know, so I have some slides to share that I believe that will be of real great, that'll bring a lot of insight into what we are doing. And I believe this will really help us, you know, to really see this subject that we have right now. So leadership fundamentals just talks about leadership essentials, the basics, the rudiments, and it's good for us to have that foundational of these leadership fundamentals. And as we go into it, we'll be reminded of so many things that we already know, and also some things will be brought into the level of our awareness so that we can be able to apply and get a new order of result. Now, Simon Sinek, an expert in leadership, says leadership is not a license to do less. Leadership is a responsibility to do more. A lot of people have a misconception of leadership. They just believe that, oh, when I become a leader, I can order everybody around. I can tell everybody what to do and all that. You see, that is not the right leadership concept. You know, leadership is not a license to do less. In fact, leadership is a responsibility to do more. And I'll be really amplifying this word responsibility the more as we go on in this session. Leadership is not occupying a seat. It is accomplishing a feat, an outstanding feat. Leadership is not for bench warmers and for you to just occupy a seat and warm the bench. No, it is when you are put in the leadership position, you have a responsibility to bring about an outstanding feat. Now, also, leadership is not about wearing or bearing a title. It is about adding value, adding real value to people. This is what leadership is all about. It's not about title. Nobody cares about the title that you wear or you bear. What people are concerned is the value you are adding to humanity. That is the main thrust of leadership. Leadership is not about occupying a position. It is making outstanding contributions. You see, the position you occupy just gave you the platform to make contributions. If all you are doing is just to occupy position, you are just a space occupying lesion. You are not an essential. It's all about making an outstanding contribution, a contribution that will change the life of the people that you are called to serve. Leadership is not about teaching principles. It is living by example. Anyone can teach principles, but when it comes to leadership, it is a practical thing. It is living by example. Now, also, it's very important for us to see that leadership is not an endowment. It is a laudable accomplishment. Leadership is a laudable accomplishment. Leadership is not talking the lead. It is taking the lead in your field of endeavor. Leadership is not just talking about it, it's being about it. And when we have this understanding about leadership, it changes the whole thing. When I joined the Maswell leadership team just about 2 years ago, and I was just I had a need inside of me to really be mentored by the world's #1, Dr. John C. Maswell. And there's something we call mastermind. In the mastermind is something I do as one of my in my company. I'll be starting a mastermind next week on communication training. So everyone is expected to do it. It's just a methodology of training in which there's a collective discussion to draw out collective knowledge where participants can take their learning to up to 95%, because if all you do is reading, you will get 10%. If you just listen maybe to something and audibles, you will get 20% of learning. If you see something visually alone, you will get 30% of learning. When you combine the audio and the visual, you're going to get 50% of learning. But when you get into a collective discussion with mastermind, you take learning to 70%. But when you now apply what you have learned, you take learning to 80%. But when you now take time to teach people, take the lead in teaching people what you have applied and learned, then learning goes to 95%. This is a research by William Glasser. So I just did my first mastermind at that time. That was July, August, and I was just less than 2 months in the Maswell leadership at that time. I wasn't thinking about breaking any record, but I happen to have 12 different groups in my mastermind, and some of those groups we have 12, 13 people in the group. And then the executive vice president told me later on during the call, he said that was no one has ever done that in Maswell leadership all around the world. And we are more than 34,000 people. And I wasn't going out to break the record. I just want to see how much life I can touch. So leadership is not talking the lead, it's taking the lead in your field. Taking the lead in your field. Leadership is not about titles, positions, or flowcharts. It's about one life influencing another. It's about one life influencing another. That was, this is a great quote by my mentor, Dr. John Maswell. Also, Robin Sharma, another leadership expert, says leadership is not about executive position or title. It's about connection and influence. At its highest, leadership is all about adding value to the world and blessing lives through the work that you do. Henry Ford says, if all your business does is to make money, he said, then you are a poor person. That means a business needs to do more than making money. A business needs to make a difference and add value to the lives of the clients. Now, let's see, what is leadership? Because we have seen what leadership is not. We're looking at the leadership fundamental. According to Warren Bennis, a leadership expert, he said leadership is the capacity to translate vision into reality. You see, what makes a leader unique is the ability to translate vision into reality. There's something I call the vitamin C of leadership, VITC. V stands for vision. I stand for inspiration. T stands for transparency, which is integrity. And C stands for competency. So leadership is the capacity to translate vision. So you see that vision comes first because vision is key. Vision is having a clear picture of a bright future. That's what it's having a picture of a future. There must be something you have in mind that you're leading the people to. So that's what leadership is, the capacity that if you can translate that vision into reality, that is leadership. Another mentor of mine, Dr. David Oyedepo, said, leadership is a product of efficient management of self, time, task, and resources. Leadership is a product of efficient management of self, time, task, and resources. Now, when you look at this definition, there's something missing. People. We don't manage people. We lead people. But when it comes to management, as far as leadership definition is concerned, is efficient, how efficient you can manage yourself, your own time, your task, and your own resources. We'll talk about that later. Dr. John Maxwell said, real leadership is being the person others will gladly and confidently follow. It's being the person others will gladly and confidently follow. That means they're not following you sadly. They're following you with confidence. They're not following you with fear. That is real leadership. It's not by compulsion, it's by volition. That takes me to Jim Collins, the authors of Good to Great. Jim Collins says, true leadership is when people follow you, when they have a choice not to. And I really like this definition. You see, the purest form of leadership is not in the regular workplace or the marketplace. It is in a voluntary organization. Now, I want to challenge leaders. If you want to see how great your team is in leadership, I want you to do this. Assign them to go and work in a voluntary organization and test their leadership capacity. Because when you are in a regular, marketplace, in a regular organization, and people follow you because they don't have any choice. They have to, because they have to protect their paycheck and all that. But true leadership is when people follow you when they have a choice not to. That means they have a choice not to follow you. And that is why the purest form of leadership is in a volunteer organization like the church or any other place where there's a volunteerism, where there's no things, nothing attached, like people are paid regularly. That is when you know true form of leadership. Now, I haven't seen what leadership is not, what leadership is. Now, let's go and look at rock solid leadership. Rock solid leadership. Now, this picture of a rock solid give us a picture of, a kind of leadership that is stable in season and out of season. You see how the storm was beating against this rock solid, this house that was built on the rock solid leadership. We're talking about a leadership that lasts. We're not talking about shooting stars. We're talking about northern stars, people that give compass to others. Rock solid leadership is what we want to talk about. So let's see, how do we develop rock solid leadership? Now, I've made it so easy for you. The acronym is leadership, just like leadership, LEADERSHIP. Now, the L stands for long-term vision. I told you the first thing in leadership is vision. So, but it has to be a long-term vision, a long-term vision. Let me just share this at this point. Some years ago in Nigeria, the former, head of state, General Yakubu Gowon, and he said it at that time, during the time of the and when he was the head of state, he said the problem is not money, it's but what to do with the money. You see, this is this is a product of lack of long-term vision. He said the problem is not money, because there was so much money at that time. He said, but what to do with the money? That's why long-term vision is a core product of a rock-solid leadership. Then the next one, we have excellence. Excellence is a real non-compromising attribute of a rock-solid leadership. Then we have advanced planning. The D, discipline. The E, enthusiasm. The R, responsibility, which Winston Churchill defined as the price of greatness. Then the S, sacrifice, because there's no leadership without sacrifice. A leader must give up to go up. That is the law of sacrifice, one of the 21st law of leadership by Dr. John Maxwell. Then H, humility. Then I, influence. And P, perseverance. These are the components of rock-solid leadership. Now, let's go further. Rock-solid leadership is not an ability. It is the accepting of responsibility. Rock-solid leadership is not an ability. It is the accepting of responsibility. Now, let me share this area code. I'm working on a book called The Area Code. Now, this area code was an inspiration that I received way back in 2006 when I was doing my housemanship in the prestigious University College Hospital, Ibadan, Nigeria. Now, is the normal thing is when you are doing your housemanship is you have 4 different rotations. You go through the medical, the surgery, medicine, surgery, pediatrics, and then OBGYN, O&G, obstetric and gynecologist. So I started with an obstetric and gynecology. Then after that, I did pediatrics. Then after that, I did surgery. So medicine happens to be my last rotation. So it was while I was in the medical rotation that I got this inspiration for the area code, because at that time, I was leading the patient-friendly initiative, which I started then, which I pioneered in the UCH at that time, and a team of fellow house doctors, and to really make a difference in the life of the patient. So while I was working on that project, I have this I have this attitude of spending more time in the ward just to be of help. Then anytime you get to a new rotation as an house officer, so there are some house officers already in that unit, and some of them, they like to pride themselves as SHO, senior house officer. That is leading by position based on the fact that I'm there ahead of you. So when I get there, I wasn't even competing with anybody. I was just all about service. I just want to serve. And I have a habit of taking, what we call in quote, odd cases. Patients that are really in distress, people that you will need to be in the ward to continually care for. But these so-called SHOs, they like to manage cold cases, people that are already stable, that they don't want to do any work. And by 12 o'clock, they are out of the ward. These SHOs, they already gone back to their room. But because of the kind of plan that I decided to take, which many of them are running away from, I was embracing that. I was accepting responsibility. And that's where that area code came to me, that anywhere you get to in life, don't try to exercise authority. You just accept responsibility that other people are not ready to do. And that's what I did, because according to Gene Bedley, he said, responsibility finds a way, irresponsibility makes excuses. So I was finding a way by accepting responsibility. And I have two of the critically ill clients in the wards then. They were my patient. And one of them, he was really in their distress, and the kidney was almost compromised. But what I want to bring out there was it got me on my feet. I have to be working with specialists. And with time, their condition began to improve. Then the registrar, the consultant then, nephrologist, was giving me an open commendation that I was operating at the realm of a resident doctor. And I was not a resident doctor at that time. I was just an house officer that just cared about the patient. Now, what I want to bring out is this. By the time I finished my housemanship, the kind of recommendation that I got, and this consultant is very hard to please, even by some of the resident doctors. But the kind of recommendation he gave me, and he also offered me a job in his own personal hospital because he saw the commitment, the way I accepted responsibility. Now, I have applied this area code everywhere I've gone to. Anywhere I go, even when I came to the United States, I don't look for how to exercise authority. I always look for how to accept responsibility. I want to challenge everyone. When you embrace this area code, always accepting responsibility to do what other people are not willing to do. Listen, you will end up calling the shot. You will end up exercising authority in that space because this is what true rock solid leadership is all about. Now, rock solid leadership is a collection of skills. That's the good news. It is something we can all learn and improve at. When I say rock solid leadership, I'm using that word to define real leadership. The one that stands the test of time, the one that makes you stable in season and out of season. Dr. John Maxwell said, although it is true that some people are born with greater natural gift than others, the ability to lead is really a collection of skills, nearly all of which can be learned and improved. You see, leadership is like a skill, just like driving skills. When you see a pilot, he wasn't born a pilot. He has to go and learn it. That's why I like to do leadership training. My company, I do leadership training. I'm starting one next week, Saturday. I do leadership training every month. Why? Because anyone can learn leadership. Anyone can learn leadership. Anyone that is open to learn. And that's why for us to be a consistent student, we need to be teachable. Because there are three different attitudes about learning. The first attitude is what I call the arrogant attitude, which says that no one can teach me anything. The second attitude about learning is what I call the naive attitude. That says that only one person can teach me everything. And that's really not possible. The last attitude to learning is what we call the teachable attitude. That attitude says everyone can teach me something. And as leaders, we need this teachable attitude. And that's something I love about Dr. Kunle Azan. He's a man that is, that has a heart of a student. At his world-class level, is still learning. And that is the beauty. That's why I know that the key far, we go far. This Kunle Azan I Foundation Academy, we go far because that is what this forum is all about. It's all about a founder that has a teachable attitude. Now, let's see another things to note about rock solid leadership. Now, rock solid leadership begins with yourself. Because the toughest person to lead is always yourself. Before we lead others, we must first learn how to lead ourselves. Now, this is so important, and this is why I want to talk about another project I'm working on called personal leadership. Leader, lead thyself. Personal leadership, leader, lead thyself. So let's see, how can we let's look at the keys to leading yourself better. So let's share quickly 4 keys to leading yourself better. The first one is learn followership. Learn followership. The second one is develop self-discipline. The third one is practice patience. Number 4, seek accountability. Now let's see. Let's take it one by one and really give it much more depth. Now, learn followership. Now, Bishop Fulton Jeshin said, civilization is always in danger. When those who have never learned to obey are given the right to command. You see, when people have never learned to be a follower, they don't know what it takes to follow. They don't have that empathy of a follower, what followers go through, what they experience. Because leaders who have never followed well or submitted to authority tend to be prideful, unrealistic, rigid, and autocratic. So that's why, we all need good role models, good mentors to thrive in life. So learning followership is the key to successful personal leadership. And if you can lead yourself, you can lead others. Now, the second point is develop self-discipline. John Maxwell said, when we are foolish, we want to conquer the world. When we are wise, we want to conquer ourselves. To make consistently good decisions, to make the right action when needed, and to refrain from the wrong actions require character and self-discipline. A man without decision of character belongs to whatever can make a captive of him. That man does not belong to himself. So we all need decision of character, and that is what comes by developing self-discipline. Because self-discipline is key. It's not being monitored from outside. It's being a law to yourself. Now, practice patience is the third factor. Keys to leading yourself better. Now, Joyce Meyer says, patience is not the ability to wait, but the ability to keep a good attitude while waiting. You see, as a leader, you are always one step, ahead of your pack. And if you're out front but impatient with your team, like I said, patience is not just waiting, but having the ability to wait with a good attitude. So if you become impatient with your team, you may resent them instead of encouraging them to come along with you. The point of leadership is not to cross the finishing line first, but to take people across the finish line with you. Now, the last one is seek accountability. A wise man says, if you don't account, you won't amount. Accountability brings responsibility. That's what Stephen Covey said. Now, lack of accountability in your personal life will certainly lead to problems in your public life. We all need to seek accountability from someone that can hold us accountable. I did a teaching in one of my training called Success Stabilizers. And we talk about success as byproducts. And we now talk about those byproducts need stabilizers. And one of those things we talk about is time will fail me to really talk about this. These are the kind of things I do during my training. And because this success stabilizer is a necessity in today's space in which people are losing it. For instance, the stabilizer, for money is generosity. And when it comes to generosity, we have three kinds of generosity. But when it comes to the place of power, we need that stabilizer of accountability. And that is why accountability is key. So the willingness to seek and accept advice is a great indicator for accountability and of a leader who is maturing and improving. Now, to wrap this session up, it's very important to take the advice of Thomas J. Watson, the former IBM chairman. He said something. He said, nothing so conclusively proves a man's ability to lead others as what he does from day to day to lead himself. That means it is what we do daily to lead ourselves. My mentor wrote a book called Today Matters. You can check it out by John Maxwell, Today Matters. Talks about 12 ways in which you can lead yourself on a daily basis. So it is what we do on a day-to-day basis to lead ourselves that give us the right to lead others, because what we do daily becomes our habit. Now, this brings us into the second segment called Leadershift. Leadershift. Now, this Leadershift is based on the book by my mentor, Dr. John Maswell. This book has changed my life. This concept has changed my life. In fact, I will tell you one of the reasons why I am on this platform today was this Leadershift. It was in this Leadershift. I've done 3 seasons of leadership. I've done season 1. I did it last year, September, October. I did season 2, November, December. That was where I met Dr. Bumi Fatunga. She was part of this season 2. That's how the connection begins. And she was referred by a professor of community medicine that did the season 1, which was part of a friend of mine, pastor a church in Maryland. So he was part of the leadership in that church. And that is how he referred Dr. B for this leadership. This is a very powerful material. And I did the season 3, January, February this year, and many people all around the world have done this. If you are interested in this, because time will not really permit me to really go deep into it, I'll be going into it, but won't be. But if you are interested in this, and you can get in touch with the organizer of this academy, and they can give you my contact point, and we go from there, because this will change the organization. Now, let's see the power of this leadership. Now, what is leadership all about? I remember one was someone when she had this leadership, she just smiled at what is leadership really about? You know, leadership is an ability and willingness to make a leadership change that will positively enhance organizational and personal growth. So when we shift as leaders, when we make this change, this positive change, it is not only us that will be impacted, our organization also will be impacted. Because a leadership allows you to take yourself and your organization to a higher level. And that's something I like about leadership, because whenever we make this leadership, we don't just change. The organization that we represent, that we serve, also change. The people also change. It has a way of creating a critical mass movement. It's a critical transformation. Now, why leadership? Why? Why do every leader needs to leadership? Why do we need that? But at first, I would like to really distinguish between management and leadership. John D. Rockefeller said, management is efficiency in climbing the ladder of success. Leadership determines whether the ladder is leaning against the right wall. Now, I want to see the difference between management and leadership. Now, in management, the efficiency is all about climbing the ladder of success. But a leader wants to make sure that is this ladder leaning against the right wall? That is what makes leaders different. Peter Drucker, the father of modern management, said, management is doing things right. And there's nothing wrong in doing things right as long as it's the right thing. But leadership is doing the right things. So what is the point of doing things right and you doing the wrong thing? So leaders have a different bias. They assess things from a leadership point of view. Now, what is the difference? Management systems and processes tend to be linear. Leadership requires a more nuanced view of the world because it involves people. You see, whenever you bring people into a system, it is no longer linear. It changes the whole process because it involves people. What motivates them, what their interests are, and how engaged they become. This is what makes this process complex and adaptive. And it takes a leader to navigate this process. A manager cannot do that. You see, management and leadership is like, management is like, you driving a ship, a big ship, when the water is calm. Leadership is driving the ship when there's a storm. Anybody can handle the rudder of the ship when the ship is calm. But when when posts come to shelf, when the sea becomes stormy, that's when you know true leadership. True leadership is not known in time of convenience. It is known in time of crisis. Now, why leadership? Now, mechanical system may be linear, like I said, but as soon as the human element becomes involved, the system becomes complex and adaptive. That's the observation by Eric J. McNulty. Now, where management took stability for granted, leadership provides principle that works in the face of the unknown. That's why the essence of leadership is uncertainty. There will be no need for leadership if there's no uncertainty. That's why as leaders, we don't have to be afraid of uncertain situation. Leaders are always needed in the midst of uncertainty. Management systems assume that similar inputs will result in similar output. The principle of management depends on stability and known factors, but uncertainty is the essence of leadership. This is why everybody needs to learn leadership. You see, I'm so excited with what Dr. Kunle Azan is doing in this academy, because as professionals, it's good to know your profession. But it's also important to understand that apart from knowing your profession, you will be limited in this 21st century if all you know is your professional expertise. There's a need for life skills, and one of the core life skills is leadership. There's a need. This is why company needs to embrace leadership training and make leadership training a consistent approach. It's something that needs to be done regularly because it will help your team to be more aware of how they can bring the best to the team. Because without training, there's lack of awareness, because all we need to do is to continue to grow. And with growth, there's no finishing line. So wherever there's uncertainty, there will always be a need for leaders. Why? Which means always stepping out into the unknown, always requiring courage. Now, let's see. Let's compare two viable words, adaptability and conformity. Now, educator and author Bruna Martinezzi cited a study conducted by an organization called the Economical Intelligence Unit. It identified top 3 leadership qualities that will be important in years ahead. The ability to motivate staff, which carries 35%. The ability to work well across cultures, which carries 34%. And the ability to facilitate change, which carries 32%. All 3 of these qualities require adaptability. What is adaptability? It is the ability to change or to be changed to fit new circumstances. Is a crucial skill for leaders. A more recent study conducted by Right Movement and published in the FLOSS report made it clear that the need for adaptability is only increasing. They asserted that 91% of future recruiting in the workplace will be based on people's ability to deal with change and uncertainty. This is why many companies are recruiting and retraining people to be able to fit into this new world. Conformity is the negative quality of blending in, becoming average, refusing to stand out, or capitalize on one's uniqueness. Otherwise, rather, in contrary, adaptability is the positive quality of being able to sense the shift in wind direction and proactively adjust one's course to take advantage of that wind shift. While conformity is a weakness based upon fears of rejection, adaptability is a strength based upon confidence in oneself and in one's judgment and abilities. In the face of uncertainty, people who conform, that's why conformity is not good, pulls away to a safe place to protect themselves. Adaptable leaders who make leadership lean into uncertainty and deal with it head on. That's why it takes adaptability to really leadership, because we only get better when we leadership. Now, this brings us to the value of mental flux, promoting the health of your leadership. Now, John Maxwell observed that dentists encourage us to use dental flux daily to promote the health of our teeth. We need to use mental flux to get rid of whole thinking and promote the health of our leadership. Every advance you make as a leader will require a leadership that changes the way you think. That's what leadership does. It changes the way you think, act, and lead. If you want to be an effective leader, you must lead a shift. You cannot be the same, think the same, and act the same if you hope to be successful in a world that does not remain the same. Now, let me share this little story with you. There was this farmer that owns a big farmland, that was passed on to him by his father, and which the father also got from his father's fathers and all that. So it's a long time family inheritance. And because of his emotional attachment to that farm, he didn't want to leave the place, the area. So anytime, and this farmer has a big, he has a chicken farm. So anytime it rains, the flood system is so worse that all the chicken that the farmer has been taking all the years to raise will just be swept off, which is a great loss to the farmer. And this thing continues year after year. When the rainy season comes, the flood will come and take all the chickens away. And one day the man, he got so frustrated and he didn't want to leave the farm. So what is the solution? And he keep on losing money. And the wife just said, why don't we raise ducks? Instead of the chicken, why don't we raise ducks? And this farmer never had a clue that would have been the best thing to do if I don't want to leave this farmland. So that's a leadership. So he was able to leadership. So the next time the flood came, guess what? He didn't lose a duck because all the ducks can swim. They all survived. They all thrived, even in the water, because he make a leadership. So we have to be like that farmer. We don't have to keep on doing the same thing every time and expecting a different result, which is the definition of insanity. We have to leadership. So when the farmer leadership, when he chooses to raise the duck instead of the chicken, the business exploded on the positive, in a positive way. So let's look at the leadership questions that we all need to answer. The first one is this. This question is something that gauges your readiness to leadership. How open are you to change? Just like the farmer I just mentioned. The farmer could have been doing the same thing all the time and experiencing the same loss. So how open are you to change? Are you willing to start asking more questions instead of giving more answers? One of the things that I teach in my training is the power and the value of questions, and also the power and the value of listening. Are you willing to start asking more questions instead of giving more answers? Then are you willing to become a better listener, a better observer? Then can you become comfortable with ambiguity? That means be open to many interpretations of things beyond what you already know. Are you willing to rely more on your intuition and your creativity, like the farmer does? I mean, that was creativity. You didn't want to leave the farmland. So what do? and the wife came up with a creative solution that put an end to all the frustration, because creation is the answer to frustration. How adaptable are you as you began to lead? For instance, we all know what happened 2 years ago when COVID hit. Many people are not used to the virtual space. Many people are not aware of Microsoft Teams and Zoom. But now it has become the order of the day where many people can meet all around the world. And people are now taking advantage of this digital technology. And that's what we're doing today, taking advantage of this digital space to reach more people. That is a leadership. Now, how to leadership? Let's look at 7 ways to leadership. 7 ways to lead. Like I said, time will not really permit us to go deep into each of them. Like I said, if you are interested in this leadership, you can contact me. I can help you and your organization. How to leadership? Now, the first way is continually learn, unlearn, and relearn. Toffler said, he said, the illiterate of the 21st century are not those that are unable to read and write, but those that are unable to learn, unlearn, and relearn. So, number 2, value yesterday, but live in today. See, to leadership, we need to value yesterday, but live in today. You see, people honor you for what you did yesterday, but they respect you for what you are doing now. You see, Dr. Kunle Hassan will have been based on all his accomplishment, he will have sat down and just be telling. In fact, one of the quotes that I got yesterday was from my mentor. He was talking about don't be an historian leader. You have to remain in the game. That there's nothing more sad than an historian leader that is always talking about what they did. But Dr. Kunle Hassan is still in the game through this academy. He's still leading people. Look at the 10 Founders series. That was a lot of work. That was a lot of content. So value yesterday, but live in today. Continue to add value to people as long as you live. My mentor, Dr. John Maswell, he clocked 75 in February. He's not slowing down. He's working on 4 new books now. The man, as I speak to you now, is in Dominican Republic doing transformation. Some of the team members are with him. I would have been there myself, but my schedule doesn't permit me at this time. So, number 3, rely on speed, but thrive on timing. You see, as to leadership, we need to rely on speed, but we have to thrive on timing. That means be sensitive to timing. As we rely on speed, we need to be sensitive, because there are sometimes we need to slow down instead of just speeding on. Then also see the big picture as the picture keeps getting bigger. You see, as the picture keeps getting bigger, we need to continue to see the big picture to update and to upgrade and to review. Then the next one, live in today, but think about tomorrow. So that means as we are living in today, we thinking about tomorrow, because a leader have to see more, be more. A leader have to see before others sees. Move forward courageously in the midst of uncertainty. Like we said, uncertainty is the essence of leadership. Then the last one is realize today's best will not meet tomorrow's challenges. That is why we all need, that's why I love personal growth, human development. That's why I love training. Some people, after they did one training, they thought they know it all. No! After I did my certification in John Maswell team, I'm still in training. I joined the mentorship. The mentorship is an ongoing training. I have coaching mentors. I have speaker training mentors. I have mentors in different areas. And because that is the beauty of growth, you have to continue to learn. And the more you learn, the more you will see that there's so much to learn. Now, quickly, for the time that we have, 11 shifts every leader needs to make. What are the 11 shifts every leader to make? Now, these are the 11 shifts. The first one is what we call the focus shift. That you move from soloist to conductor. This is when you stop to focus on yourself. You move from me to we. You start focusing on the people. The conductor just represents this orchestra. When you move from just a one-man show, you focus on the people. The highlight is not on you, it's on the people. Then we have the personal development shift. You move from goals to growth. Then we have the cost shift from pegs to price. That means you are not in leadership based on what you get, but what you want to give. The relational shift talks about from pleasing people to challenging people. The abundance shift talks about from maintaining to creating. The next one, the reproduction shift, talks about from ladder climbing to ladder building. The next one, the communication shift, from directing to connecting. The next one, from the improvement shift, from team uniformity to team diversity. The next one, the influence shift, says from positional authority to moral authority. Then the next one, the impact shift, from trained leaders to transformational leaders. The next one, the last one, the passion shift, which takes us from career to calling. Now, leaders must be willing to let go of what worked yesterday and learn new ways of saying, doing, and leading. Now, for time's sake, I'll just quickly take 5 of them and just give more light before we open up the Q&A session, because I really love interaction, because that is a very, very good thing. When there's an interaction, we can do more, we can learn more. Now, the personal development is what we call this personal development shift is where we talk about going from goals to growth. Now, in this personal development shift, that is finding what fuels you on the inside in order to grow what is happening on the outside. Goals are on the outside, but growth is on the inside. You know, L. Nightingale says, if you spend 1 hour a day on a certain given subject every day for 5 years, you can become an expert on that subject. Now, let me show you what a goal mindset is all about. GOAL is asking the question, how long will it take? That's a goal-oriented question. But a growth orientation question asks, how far can I go? How far can I go? When you change those questions from how long will it take you to how far can you go, you will make that leader shift. You are going to have a growth internally that will allow you to have every goal that you want externally. It's very, very important to know that goals help me to do better. You see, goals, what goals does is this. Goals help us to do better, but growth helps us to become better. So there's a difference between doing better and becoming better. So we need to note the difference. Now let's see, what's the difference between a growth-oriented culture and a growth-oriented culture? Now, a goal-oriented culture values achievement, focus on status, honors privilege, target is arrival. But in a growth-oriented culture, it values development, it focuses on stretching, it honors serving, and the target is growth. You see, and it's very, very important. So let me just quickly highlight 3 things, 3 growth changes that we need to make. We need to grow, we need to move from growth, outward growth to inward growth. Because to make the shift from goals to growth, you need to find an inward motivation. Now, the second thing about growth changes is this. Growth in everything, we must move from growth in everything to growth on few vital things. A lot of people, they just want to grow in everything. No, you need to cone it down. You need to narrow it down to grow in few vital things. Some years ago, for Dr. John Maxwell, he decided his own is going to be real. Real means relationship, equipping, attitude, and leadership. Right now, in the Maxwell team, we have added one more to it. Now, the new concept is called CLEAR, CLEAR. So these are the kind that I offer as a Maswell leadership team member. I can teach, I can help your organization in any of the content called CLEAR. CLEAR means communication, leadership, equipping, attitude, and relationship. So everything, and this CLEAR pathway, this CLEAR concept is very powerful. We have a lot of highly high-powered materials that can change organization in a very positive way. So now, having seen that, now quickly, and to save time, let me show you how to become a growth-oriented person. Let me just give you keys. Let me quickly put keys in your hand, how to become a growth-oriented person. Number one, you have to embrace change. 2, adopt a teachable spirit. 3, you have to make your love for learning greater than your fear of failure. Number 4, you have to develop relationship with other growing people. Number 5, you have to develop greater humility. 6, you have to believe in yourself. And number 7, you have to embrace layered learning. Layered learning. So let's move to the other one. Let me just share this quote from Dr. John Maswell. He said, growth's highest reward is not what we get from it. You see, growth's highest reward is not what we get from it, but what we become by it. The great sage, Miles Monroe, which I call Professor, it said something that changed my life. It said the word work, W-O-R-K, means arrogant. It means to become yourself. So when you go to work and you are not working, you are cheating yourself. You are not cheating your company. You are not cheating your organization. When I was in Salvation Army, oh yes, I put everything on the line. I was not looking for any award. I just want to serve. And the program became the flagship of the program in the whole Salvation Army in the city until I was given an award. And now in my business, the same attitude, because growth highest reward is not what we get from it, but what we become by it. For instance, preparing for this lecture, my greatest reward is not what I get from it, what I have become by it, because you don't remain the same after you embrace growth. Growth always changes you, because growth is not all about status. It's not about achievement. Growth is all about development and stretching. Now, the second thing that we want to look at is the relational shift. Now, this relational shift talks about, moving from pleasing people to challenging people. Pleasing people to challenging people. I love what Steve Jobs said. Steve Jobs says, if you want to make everyone happy, don't be a leader. Sell ice cream. Oh, that was so powerful. If you want to make everybody happy, don't be a leader. Go and sell ice cream. You see, leadership is not about making people happy. We need to become the leader that people really needed, not just the one that people wanted. There's a difference between what people want and what people need. People need a leader that will bring out their best, the best out of people, because the highest calling of a leader, according to the Harvey Firestone, is the growth and development of the people. So this is a real, I tell you, this is a really huge thing. And in my leadership training, we really go deep into this, because pleasing people is different from challenging people, because when we challenge people, we bring out the best in people. So, and this has a lot of content, but I just wanted to know that pleasing people is not the same as leading people. Now, let's go to the next one to save time. We have what we call the reproduction shift. The reproduction shift. Now, in this, we go from ladder climbing to ladder building. From ladder climbing to ladder building. Now, what is this all about? You see, you can teach what you know. You can only reproduce who you are. So this reproductive shift take your leadership mat from addition to multiplication. When you shift from ladder climbing to ladder building, and there are 4 stages. of this. The first one is ladder climbing, is when you are aspiring to become a success. But after that, we have what we call ladder holding. You begin to hold the ladder for others. He said, in ladder climbing, you are saying, how high can I go? In ladder holding is how high will others go with a little help. Now, the ladder extending, how high will others go with a lot of help? So but the highest dimension is ladder building. That can I help them build their own ladder? You see, and this is moving you from being a personal producer to becoming an equiper of people. This is a real high stage of leadership. That is the reproduction shift. Now, the next one quickly is what we call the influence shift. This is moving from positional authority to moral authority. This moves you from positional authority to moral authority. Listen, I wish I had more time to teach this. But because of the time that we have, this is a very unique power shift that we need to make. Because most of the time, people just stay on the positional level. You see, positional authority is limited. Because there are 5 levels of leadership. We have number 1, position, number 2, permission, number 3, production, number 4, people development, number 5, pinnacle. But when you come to this mindset of leadership, this influence shift is all about knowing that moral authority is when people respect you for who you are, not because of your position. That's why leadership is when your presence, when your absence is more powerful than your presence. What do I mean by that? That means after you have left, the impact of your leadership is still speaking. That is real leadership. Now, this and there let me quickly share because of the time. We have the pathway to moral authority. Now, what are the pathways to moral authority? There are 4. There are 4. Number 1, competence. Competence talks about the ability to lead well. The ability to lead well. 2, courage means moving forward in the face of fear. Number 3, consistency, being big, doing well all the time, not just for some time. Number 4, character. Character means being bigger on the inside than on the outside. Now, character has 4 components. We have under character, we have the humility, authenticity, integrity, and love. Now, let's talk about the last one for the time that we have. The last one is the passion shift. Some wake up to an alarm, some wake up to a calling. You see, everyone in this world can be divided into 3 based on a research. People tend to fall into 3 groups. Number 1, those that are doing a job. Number 2, those that are building a career. Number 3, those that are fulfilling their calling. There's nothing wrong in doing a job or building a career, but this needs to lead you to your calling. Because your calling is who you are. Your calling is who you are. Now, let's see. What's the difference between a career and a calling? Now, a career is mainly about you. A calling is mainly about others. Your career is something you choose. Your calling is something chosen for you. Your career is being separated from your best life. Your calling is integrated into your entire life. Your career is, you can take or leave it. But your calling is, it never leaves you. Your career is something you can do. Your calling is something you must do. Now, your career is measured by success, but your calling is measured by significance. Now, don't forget, significance is what you do for others. Success is what you do for yourself. And life is all about significance. And if you have tasted significance, success will no longer satisfy. Now, your calling is finding your why. Finding your why, the reason for your life. When you find your why, you find your way. When you find your why, you find your will. And when you find your why, you find your wings. This is a whole lot of stuff. But time will only really permit me to really tell you that our calling is a gift we give the world while we are still alive. Our legacy is our gift to the world after we die. Now, this slide just shows you the summary of what leadership is. Just a beautiful chart that give us, for instance, your calling. Your calling matches your identity, taps into your passion, gives you purpose. It's not about you, it's bigger than you. It informs your perspective and it brings you fulfillment. And I want to say at this point that who you learn from is also as equally important as what you learn. I want to say thank you for this opportunity and giving me this Kunle Azan High Foundation Academy. Thank you, everyone. I'm honored and I'm willing to take the question and answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Poku. Thank you, thank you, thank you. There's so much. I'm actually overloaded, but at the same time, even though I'm overloaded, I'm still hungry for more. Now, so as to save time as well, we'll allow people to ask questions, make comments. I'm not going to go into all the summary. It's going to be on YouTube, but one question, I'll start off the questions, is normally they say leaders are born. So from what you have said, leaders are not born. That's
Yes.
one thing I've taken, that leaders are not born. And then a question I have is, should we be followers before being leaders? And how long, what is the average number of years a person should be a follower before that person becomes a leader?
Yeah.
And then you said our calling is chosen. Who chooses our calling? Those 3 questions.
Okay.
And then I open the floor.
These are striking questions. Yeah. Now, I love Q&A because it's a very forum for interaction where more light is being shed. Now, the truth is this: everyone has leadership potential. Now, when you find out the gift, I'm very passionate about gift. My second book was on gift, and understanding your gift. And I received an inspiration that gift means God's investment for triumph. So everybody is gifted in something. You see, by the time you grow your gift and you grow your gift, people will follow you in that area. So everyone is called to be a leader in the field. So when you grow that gift, it becomes obvious, it becomes proven and tested, people will follow you. You take the lead in that area. So we can all be a leader and also be a follower by following other people in their area of gifting. For instance, once you get the light bulb, either you're using LED or whatever light bulb you're using, you're following someone. You're following someone's invention. You don't have to say, no, I don't want to follow Thomas Edison. I want to invent my own light bulb. That's foolishness. Because you don't have to reinvent the wheel when somebody has already done it. Anytime you go to the store, you buy a laptop. Either you buy Toshiba. You following Toshiba in that area of gifting. So that is how we are all here. We were all supposed to manifest our gifting in such a way that people will follow us in that area. So that is the beauty of leadership. So you can learn followership, but if you don't have our gifting, help our leadership potential to be made manifest. So also we can, like me, I'm learning under Dr. John Maswell, but as you are learning, you begin to discover some special gift that God has given you. When I said your calling was chosen for you, it was chosen by God. Jeremiah 1:5 said, before I formed you in the womb, I knew you and I called you to be a prophet to the nations. Yours might not be a prophet, but use something to the nations. And don't forget, our gift is meant to be global. It's not meant to be local. Because the gift of God is meant for us to is given to us to be a gift to the world, not to your nation. Yeah. Have I answered your question, Dr. Harriman?
Yes, you have.
Okay.
There's a question. Thank you very much. There's a question here by Newart, who says, good afternoon, Sama. Can you kindly repeat the quote on patience? So patience is the ability to blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
That's what the person said.
The quote says that patient is not just the ability to wait, but to keep the good attitude while you're waiting. And that's by Joyce Meyer.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Then Hannah Fowl, who is one of our senior ophthalmologists, I'll call her a mother of ophthalmology. So she says, love God. Love whom and what God loves. Fatima Kiari is another senior ophthalmologist who says purpose is a fundamental ingredient of leadership. Love it. Your career is measured by your success. Your calling is measured by significance.
Yes.
And there's another comment here by Dele Salami, who says, very insightful exposition. True leadership is one that elicits voluntary followership behavior.
Yeah.
And Dr. Tosin Smith says, thank you, enlightening. But if we have any questions, please let's ask questions. Yemi, I'll ask you to handle this Q&A session. There, we just have about 7 minutes left. If anyone has anything to say there.
All right, thank you, Dr. Harriman. Thank you, everybody. Thanks again, Dr. Poku, for the inspiring session. I think it's been quite insightful. And I think on this basis, actually, we've asked people to put their comments and questions in the chat box. I think it's probably helpful if we even ask people to indicate by using the reaction button on the top side of their screen, and we'll be able to take people's questions so that they can ask their question. Mr. Oladapo, please kindly take your video off, please. But I think that you were trying to indicate that you have a question. If you don't mind turning your video off, or you can go ahead and ask your question. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. My name is Oladapo Nodikwe, and I'm an ophthalmologist based here in Nigeria. I want to appreciate the organizers of this program, and I equally want to appreciate the guest speaker, Dr. Michael Koku. We've come a long way as friends way back in UI days. And I've seen the leader he has transformed into even as he speaks. My question is, we have a leadership question in Nigeria. And how do you think we can go about answering that question? You know, some people feel that the issue is more with followers, but I belong to the school of thought that knows that if you have the right leader in place, those who are following will eventually fall in line. So how do you think we can answer that leadership question as a nation? Thank you very much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Onodipe. Dr. Onodipe has been a real friend, been a long time. I remember when I came to Melambi, he was one of the person I look up to. He has been exemplary, and he has been really very inspiring. Now, to your question, in fact, this question is very critical at this time in Nigerian politics. The problem that we have is we have Stone Age kind of leadership. And the problem is not, this problem is not only in the political space, it's also in the medical space. I know many of you can witness to that. And the environment where I was raised in University College Hospital. And I mean, I have a heart to bring about transformation. We need transformational leaders. You see, one of the shift I didn't mention is moving the impact shift from trained leaders to transformation leaders. You see, trained leaders know how to do things, but they don't know why. Trained leaders only influence today, a transformational leader's influence today and tomorrow. You see, we need leaders that are transformed, because only a transformed leaders can transform lives. But unfortunately, the leaders we have right now in the political space, they are just this, I won't even call it Godfatherism. I will call it Satan fatherism. They believe in manipulation and all that stuff. We need leaders that have a new way of thinking. You see, when we talk about leadership, it begins with the mind. There are 4 zones in life. We are what we call the coasting zone. The coasting zone is when you are doing less than what you've done before. We have the comfort zone, that when you are doing what you've always done. We have the challenging zone. The challenge zone is when you attempt what you've never done before. But we have a creative zone, when you begin to think about what you've not thought about before. So we need leaders that will be in this creative and challenge zone. Leaders that will be able to come forth with solutions that will put the people first. So I think the solution to this is when we begin to have, that's why I mean, leadership training in forum like this at the grassroots level, and people begin to understand what leadership really means. That's why I created the concept of rock solid leadership. I didn't hear it from anywhere. I developed that concept because that is the kind of leadership that we need. So when we begin to have this training in this kind of space in different areas, and that's why I started with leadership fundamentals. Because when people know what leadership is not, and now know what it really means, they will begin to resent the kind of leadership that we have. And they will support that kind of leadership, because now, many times people didn't even know what leadership is. They just thought that, oh, you are a leader because you are the governor, you are a leader because you're the president. No, that doesn't make you a leader. It's not position that make you a leader. It is disposition that make you a leader. So we need that shift from the grassroots, from the marketplace, from the professional space. That is, it's not going to be a top-down thing. It's going to be a bottom-up thing. Now, there's a new book that if anybody can get hold of it, I'll recommend it, by a billionaire called Charles Koch. It's called Believe in People. It's a very powerful book. This man shares what we call the principle of human progress. And the solution in this book is what Nigeria needs. It talks about bottom-up solutions for a top-down world. We've been having top-down leadership that are not right. We need a bottom-up solution where everybody begin to wake up and realize that I have this leadership potential inside of me. And as we begin to grow that now, and we begin to learn what true leadership means, we begin to rise up to accept the responsibility to challenge this Stone Age leadership on the stage. So believing in people is the key to this. When people are being taught leadership, and in fact, I'm working on doing several leadership summits in Nigeria to wake people up, to let them see that this is what true leadership is all about. It's not all about you, it's all about the people. And that is the believe in people concept. I believe that's the solution to the present political situation. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Kuku, for that. In the interest of time, I think we'll just take a couple more questions from the chat box, and then we'll try and round up. Professor Fatima Kiari, who is also a director of Kunle Asanai Foundation Academy, asked this question. Complex and adaptive leadership. Please clarify the difference between a complicated process and a complex process.
Now, when we say something is complex, it's complex in the sense that I said that normally a mechanical system stands on the thing that input is equal to output. But whenever you bring the human factor, it becomes complex and adaptive. Now, the reason why complex is not complicated. Now, when you say something is complicated, is a statement of hopelessness. Not that it cannot be salvaged, but the real thing I was mentioning there is When you say something is complex and adaptive, is that, like I said, the human factor is in. So when you bring the human factor is, you need to understand what motivates people, what interests people, and how can you engage them. That is why I was sharing this book about the principle of human progress. You see, when you begin to learn about people, that people are not machines. You can't manage people. When you understand that people have motivations, you begin to find out what is the motivation. Now, let me share with you these statistics. There was the statistics done, study done after interviewing 5,000 people, and they found that, you know, this takes 3 years when they did this, that top 5 reasons why new hires fails, people that are just hired into a job, why they failed. Now, the first one there is coachability. The second one is emotional intelligence. The third one, you know, was talking about lack of motivation. The fourth one is temperament. And the last one, which carries only 11%, is technical competence. Technical competence. Now you see, so that technical competence just talks about, okay, your expertise in that particular work. Now, when you understand that people need other things apart for their job expertise. Let's say you hired someone now to be your administration staff. Apart from that administration skill, which is technical competence, the person needs 89% skill, which is life skills. And unfortunately, these things are not taught in school. Now, there's a university in North Carolina called High Point University. What they did is this: they took this components that were not taught in school, they changed their school curriculum. They begin to put these life skills and as part of their curriculum. Now, what happens? It make their students that are graduating from the school begin to stay long in a job. They were able to succeed because they don't only have, let's say someone is trained as an engineer, it's not just going out of the school as an engineer, it's also equipped with life skill such as temperament, such as motivation, such as coachability, and such as emotional intelligence. This is what needs to be considered when you are dealing with people. People need to be dealt with in a unique way based on understanding people. That's the purpose of this kind of training. That's why I do this kind of training, because I bring in what people are not taught in school. A statistic says that 5 years after people leave school, everything they've learned has expired. Not that some things are not relevant, but listen, the world is changing. There's something called disruptive technology that can change everything you have learned. So going to college should not just be the final point of learning. Going to college should help us to learn how to learn. Like Dr. Oyedeko said, he said, schooling only gets you literate. He said, it is your commitment to literature that determines your ultimate success. So the complex and adaptive is the human factor needs to be understood. That's why I recommend that book, Believe in People. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Okoku. And then the final question, and in the interest of time, it's from Mr. Oluwaseun Daniels. Thank you very much, Dr. Okoku. According to John Maxwell, nobody achieves anything great by giving the minimum. No teams win championship without making sacrifices and giving their best. How can anybody give the maximum in today's Nigeria with the level of injustice where merit has been relegated?
You see, giving the thank you for that question. You see, giving the minimum, giving the maximum is not the system factor. It is your personal, ethical disposition. When you learn to give the maximum wherever you go, irrespective of the system you are operating in, listen, it's not about the system. It's not about any other thing. It is all about you. We talk about one of the attributes of rock solid leadership is excellence. We all need to have that excellence mindset, a mindset that doesn't settle for less, that would like to give your best. Everybody give what they have. So you will say, for instance, oh, I'm not paid in my work, they just pay me a little. Don't worry about that. Somebody is watching you somewhere that will recommend you. And when you are known for giving a low quality work, that is where your final bus stop is going to be. But when you learn to give your best, somebody will mention you where it matters, and that will bring you into prominence. So learn to give your best, irrespective of the system you are working in.
Well, thank you. Questions are flooding in, and we're out of time.
Yeah,
Do you want to grant one or two more, and then we can close? Because I think it's been very, very enlightening.
I'm on ground.
Okay, great. I think we should take one or two more, and then we'll close. There's a closing remark from the person here, which I will share shortly as well. Let's just go to the reaction. I think Oluwabumi Fatugashe is raising her hand. Please, can you ask your question if you want to just put your mic on, please? Thank you. Oluwabumi Fatugashe, if you can unmute and just ask your question, please, or make your comment. Okay, well, there's another person. We'll just take the other person. Well, Eboluwa, please, can you unmute your mic and ask your question? You can kindly also turn your video off, please. Thank you.
Okay. Good afternoon, and thank you, Dr. Michael Koku, for all of the information that we've gotten. Hopefully, we'll be able to make use of them. I just wanted to find out if we have a recording of this presentation one, so we could, go over it and hear it over again, and that will help us to imbibe the teachings in it. That's one. Then the other thing is that, within the system, there are people who have abilities to do things, but they are in a way held down by the support, the inadequate support, which probably would also not have been the fault of those who are supposed to give them, but because we don't have all things in sufficiency. So how do you think this could affect our leadership proposal or plan for wherever we work?
Yeah, please, can you ask a question? Can you answer a question again, please?
Okay. I said that inadequate resources. What is the relationship between that and the ability to leadership? And how do we manage it somehow?
Okay, well, the issue of inadequate resources cannot be denied. But I think the best thing we can do, I just recommend that we can always make the best out of what we have, and there's something we call resourcefulness. It's all about the amount of resources that we have. It's all about the creativity of using what we have. So, and I think one of the problems about the system is that many times we always waiting for the government to do everything. Like I said, when I was working in UCH, I saw a lot of need. Of course, there were inadequate resources, but three things came to me. I saw the need, I feel the need, and I want to meet the need. So I became creative about it. And we're just young doctors. In fact, when the CMD heard that some people are doing this thing, he thought that they were professors and all that. But we are just young doctors with a vision. The first year, we were able to raise 200,000. The second year, 400,000. I was working on the third year when I came to the United States. But what I found out was that it's not all about the resources. It's all about the resourcefulness of the people. So the more we begin to see that we have, we can use what we have to make a difference. It's all about having a make a difference mindset. We must not wait for the government to fix situation. We must do what we can in our own little corner. And when that comes together, it's going to be a massive critical mass that will bring about the change to the system. Yeah, that's what I would recommend. Did I answer your question, man?
Thank you, Dr. Koku.
Yes, thank you. Creativity is what I can get from what you have said.
And
we should be creative. and be resourceful within the system. And
Yes.
hopefully it would also be appreciated as you go on and do that. That's what you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much. And to your second question, in terms of the availability of the recording, yes, we have a YouTube channel, the Kunle Asani Foundation Academy. If you go on YouTube and just search for that name, or as another option, if you look at the communication that you received to join the session, there's a link to that, and I want to be sure that we're going to be able to make this available so that people can continue to reflect and pick up from some of the thoughts that's been shared by Dr. Kuku. I think that's as many questions we're able to take. I'll just share some comments here and feedback on the chat, and then we can round up. Dr. Kunle Hassan has put in here that this is an exceptional presentation and inspiring insight into leadership dynamic, and sends his appreciation to Dr. Kuku with a heart full of gratitude and respect. God bless. There's another question. I will just keep that. And then Mama Fal said, thank you very much, Dr. Kuku, very comprehensive. We all have a lot of work to do, and we wish you wisdom in all your endeavors. Professor Kiari has also said this is a full packet in an hour. It's much appreciated, and hopefully as we reflect on it more and more, we can unpack it. And every time we listen to it again, as you said, we have to learn and relearn. And finally, it's a lot of thank you and appreciation for for the session. Dr. Hassan, I don't know if you're online. Please, if you just want to share a closing remark, and we can end the session today. Just see. I don't think he's probably has some connection issues, but he sends all his wishes and gratitude for that session as well. So thank you so much, everyone. It's been quite an enlightening session, as we want it to be. The Kunle Asani Foundation Academy has been set up for this purpose, so that we can actually all be challenged. We've also learned from Dr. Kuku. So we can be challenged to continue to add value, to think more about others, and continue to hopefully build a sustainable system and a process that can impact not just ourselves, the people around us, our organizations, but more importantly, our wider society. Thank you so much for joining us. And once again, we want to say thank you, Dr. Kuku, for your time. It's greatly appreciated. And you can follow the link on our YouTube channel for all the other sessions. And then we'll also continue to share more updates in terms of our next session. We try to do the session once in a month. It's always the first Saturday of the following month. We'll share all the details as always. Kindly drop us an email for any feedback or any comments. Say thank you once again, everybody, for joining, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.